future. And as we speak, the work are ongoing. On top of that, we understand that any country that aspires to become a vaccine manufacturing hub needs to create the proper ecosystem based on knowledge, technology, human resources. And this is the reason why the European Union allocated an additional 32 million euros to Ghana under the special measure called MAV+, precisely to enable Ghana to do that.
Yes.
After the outbreak of the COVID pandemics, there was the realization that getting vaccines is
into
good,
the country, right.
but it's very important that Africa produces its own vaccines.
Right.
So there is a handful of countries such as Rwanda, Senegal,
and Ghana,
South Africa, and Ghana who are benefiting from our support, the European Union, together with differently some member states or the European Investment Bank. It depends on the local, I would say, context. In Ghana, it's the European Union, the European Investment Bank, the German cooperation. And so far, as we speak, the European Union only has already committed 50 million euros. And I think it's a three-layer approach. First approach, we were working with the Food and Drug Authority to create the condition for them to issue licensing for vaccines, because vaccines are not like sweets or chewing gum. It's a matter of life and death, and it is very well regulated by WHO. And then we have supported a private company called DEC to build a facility. This facility has been launched by the President of the Republic and myself 1 year ago. Now the facility is taking shape, and the third, I would say, layer has been launched during the EU-Ghana Business Forum you referred to. It's an additional 32 million euros to create the ecosystem, meaning the training, the technology, the innovation, so on and so forth, because you don't create vaccines out of the blue. You need to have the proper ecosystem. It's not just something that you invent out of nowhere. So this is a very big commitment, and once again, this is something which has a transformational effect. It will accelerate technology transformation in the country, and it will put Ghana in the map of the scientific world as well, because Ghana will be part of this handful country in Africa which are producing vaccine not only for Ghana but for the rest of the sub-region, the rest of the continent and the world, because this is a global market.
This is indeed a global market. Now that for me is the story worth telling among all the stories that you have told right now on the show when it comes to interventions regarding partnership. Wait, boxing is great, but we'll come to that, But I mean, for me, this is life and death when it comes to saving lives, when it comes to empowering a country to be independent in taking care of the country, running its own business. And for us to see Ghana and the European Union collaborating in this area, empowering Ghana to be independent and also run its affairs health-wise is a plus for me. And that's the kind of stories that I like to tell. When are we looking at full operations?
We are speaking about, we have visited the facility, we are speaking about December this year? December this year, for the completion of the factory.
Interesting. Now, that's a very interesting story. I like the idea of empowering us to be able to produce vaccines after COVID. There is the need for us to do this. Now, we cannot talk about...
It's not limited to COVID.
Yeah, I know, but we have...
It's covering a daily issue of interest, like cholera,
malaria, all of them, right? Okay, so that's good. Now, we cannot talk about this and not also talk about security. You know, so security is very, very important, especially when it comes to partnership with Ghana. As we also draw closer to election year, we want to make sure that we operate in a very safe environment. Our security is intact.
It is exactly the same spirit as in vaccines. We are not here to conduct or to ensure the security and safety of Ghana, but to respond to the call of the Ghanaian authority to support the improvement of the national capacities. We support and we collaborate with the national authorities to improve the national capacities to be used based on the Ghanaian strategy on security, Ghanaian priorities, so on and so forth. There are two major aspects of our cooperation in the field of security. One that people tend to forget is the security at sea, maritime security. It's very important because for many years, the Gulf of Guinea, meaning the sea area between, I would say, Senegal till Nigeria, was one of the unsafest in the world, with the highest incidence of piracy. And in the last years, since the European Union member states have deployed their navies, as we speak, there is a permanent presence of European member states' navy vessels. And in Ghana, in the sea outside Ghana, you have 5 member states who are deploying their navies. It's Portugal, Spain, France, Denmark, and Italy. And now and again, you have those vessels calling to Tema or Takoradi or elsewhere, because this is as well a cooperation which takes place with the Ghanaian Navy. It's not just conducted. And since they have operated what we call a common maritime presence, the incidence of piracy has decreased by almost 90%. So it's very important, especially for the trading of goods, which is taking, containers.
That's a total decrease in crime rates.
And
on the
it's
sea.
a very important contribution.
Wow.
The other contribution, of course, is linked to the regional context in West Africa. And countries such as Ghana or Côte d'Ivoire or Togo and Benin are benefiting in different, I would say, form from the cooperation with the European Union to support their national apparatus. When it comes to Ghana, you remember last year in November, we have handed over 105 militarized vehicles to the Ghana Armed Force. You remember that?
Yeah.
This
was during the visit of the foreign minister.
Exactly. And this is, I would say, one of the first elements of our cooperation. As we speak, we are working on the delivery of new equipment, and there will be the revamping of some of the Ghanaian Navy vessels in order, we are not bringing unusable materials. We are reinforcing the existing apparatus or complementing it. So when it comes to the Navy vessels, it will be a retrofit. Why? Because you have the staff, you have the training, you have the environment. There is no reason to change. You have to use your own. If it's not in the proper shape, we will help you to retrofit it. And another batch of military and defense equipment will come sometime next week, and it will be complementing.
Is it because of the upcoming elections, or
No,
this is just the...
It's not linked to the election agenda. Right. It's just linked to the, I would say, overall regional context. Of course, it's important, but it's not our responsibility. We are working with different institutions like the Electoral Commission, National Commission for Civic Education, National Peace Council on the election itself. But I'm speaking about collaboration on the overall, I would say, security context. And last element that is very important is security is not limited to defense and military. We are working for long as well with the Ghana Immigration Service, with the police, with all the institutions that I've mentioned, for example, for a better management of the borders. So this is, I would say, a full toolbox that we are making available to the Ghanaian authorities, and they are the ones who are telling us, we are interested in that, why don't we do that, is it possible to do that, and then we adjust and we bring the offer. You know, it's not something that it's not a ready-made proposals, because this is not necessarily working.
I like that. 4 years ago, during the elections, we had the EU observing team here in the country to observe elections on the ground. I'm sure we are expecting, it's a routine that happens every 4 years. We are expecting the team to be in during elections as well to observe our elections and everything. Does the outcome really change anything?
It depends on the context. This year we will deploy what we call electoral expert mission, which is a bit smaller than the full observation mission, because once again the same logics. We are betting and we are investing in the national institutions. So instead of deploying a handful of observers, we are currently funding the training and the deployment of 1,000 Ghanaian observers. 1,000. We can even increase. But you know, the rationale is there, is because of the, I would say, good standing of the relation, the fact that Ghana is a standing democracy with well-established practices, etc. It makes sense to reinforce further, I would say, the national authorities. We are not in the business of having an exterior look and judgment on the institution and on the process, but to support it, to make it, I would say, even more effective than it is, which it is already. So this is the rationale.
Yeah. Absolutely. It is clear when it comes to the partnership that Ghana is gaining a lot when it comes to partnership with the European Union as one of its development partners. I would want us to talk about what the European Union also stands to gain from this partnership.
What we gain is we are working with a country which sees a lot of the way the world works the same way. And this is, if I remember well, during the political dialogue, the words that we had together with the Vice President. It's not only because we are working together, which is important, we are working together because we have a common way of apprehending, analyzing and positioning ourselves, meaning the European Union and Ghana, towards the state of affairs in Africa or the rest of the world, the condemnation of the Russian war of invasion against Ukraine, upholding the multilateral order, so rules-based order. So these are issues of common interest and values. And this is nurturing, I would say, the closeness of our relation. What we gain out of it as well, it's very important to understand that the prosperity of the European Union can be determined in many ways by the prosperity of the African continent. So our interest, so it's not philanthropy, it's not, I would say, trade, it's our interest is that Africa makes it as a more prosperous continent, because it's a win for us as well. Right. It will be a larger market for us, a larger partnership. So, you know, there is absolutely no sense in thinking whatsoever that the European Union or any international partner has a stake in keeping the African continent poor. I mean, that makes no sense, because if it's poor, it will be running. But it will be less stable, We are neighbors. What is your interest in keeping your immediate neighbors unstable? So, in the large picture, this is playing on our interest. More educated, better educated Ghanaian or Africans plays in the benefit of everyone, because this will pull, I would say, the prosperity exchanges in terms of science, technology, etc. One element that we have not mentioned on the EU week is the organization of a very big scholarship event.
Right.
Because as I said once again, we are investing in the future of Ghana and the Ghanaians. So every year, the European Union and the member states are extending around 1,000 scholarships to perform studies in universities in Europe. So I think this is a token very clear of the commitment and the investment in education, knowledge, and future links. So it's not just short-term, once-off operations. We are there to stay as long as we are welcome, and this is how we design our program. Programs are based on a long-term, I would say, dividend and benefit.
Interesting to know, because I believe I have asked your question. This is one of the questions that has been posed to me every now and then when I have the opportunity to
but
talk,
it's very important to address that, because people, it's fair to have interest. Of course, our interest is to deal with Ghana for all the reasons I've explained, and it will be false to pretend that there is no interest.
Right, absolutely.
But these interests are not necessarily what people believe. The interest is, we have a genuine interest in seeing Ghana win. Develop, be stronger, be more stable, be safer. Because, you know, for example, we are the number 1 or number 2 trade partner to Ghana. We want to increase the trade. And good news is that Ghana has increased its exportation to Europe, and we are happy for that.
Right.
On the contrary to what some people believe, that we are closing our trade has doubled over the last 6 years. So I think it's very important to bear that in mind. And of course, if the Ghanaian economy grows, it makes a larger market for Europe and European companies, etc., which is true for Côte d'Ivoire, true for Nigeria. So these are some of the, I would say, interests that are driving us.
There is this huge writing somewhere in Brussels that says the future is Africa. You know, the last time I was in Brussels, I spotted it. It is very visible, and I was like, that's a very interesting, you know, writing there. Now, let's talk about culture. I see your beads. I know you are a lover, you are a fan of beads, Ghanaian beads. Can I see it? And can I feel it also?
Of course.
And you make them yourself. That's the interesting part of this whole thing.
I trade them myself, yes.
Where did your love for beads making come from?
I have to confess that I've discovered them, if lack of a better word, here in Ghana. It's not that I've known about them.
Right.
But these ones are not Ghanaians, these are the Venetians. But I've came to the realization of I would say, aesthetical importance, historical and symbolic importance here, because in Ghana, people are using beads for different occasions of their lives. And yes, the more you get interested to the culture and the history of the country, the better you understand the meaning of the beads. So yes.
That's where you are.
So these are my 2 hobbies here: beads and box.
Beads making and boxing.
Yes.
I love the idea of beads.
So I get excited with the boxing, and then I stay calm with the beading.
With the beading, yes, so that's super great. Now, you are so big on culture, and this is part of the reason we are talking about culture. I mean, and that has featured in your lineup when it comes to EU month and celebrations here at the residence. The soft power approach, whenever I have the opportunity to speak to any representative here in the country, I mention is big. It seems like soft power seems to be getting a lot of things done than the, you know, hard power way of doing things. Why is it so important that culture plays a critical role when it comes to conversations, discourse between countries?
But culture is huge in Europe, as you know. So it's one of the important features of our foreign policy. It's not necessarily to be put in the remit of, I would say, soft power. It should not be forgotten that culture is as well an area of job creation, business making, etc. As we speak, for example, in Europe, this is summertime, you have festivals all over the place. So I will stick to France because these are examples that I know well. Every year there are more than 1,000 festivals, okay? 1,000.
More than 1,000 festivals.
I mean, and it's the same in almost all the member states. Festivals for the comics, for the books, for the lyric opera, for the, you know, the largest in the world is in Avignon for the theater, etc., etc. So you have a festival for almost everything. For the rock and pop music in Belgium, they are huge, etc., etc. So I suppose festival of beer in in Germany, but it's not limited to that. But it's not limited to that. You know, 1,000. You know, 1,000. So it's not limited to song, rock, etc. But it's really huge, and it's an industry which is generating hundreds and hundreds of billions of euros, and which is employing millions of people across the European Union, which is attracting, you know, the largest destination country for tourism in the world and in Europe, Spain, France, Italy, you know. So this is linked to that. So this is one of the reasons why we are working, trying to work even more in the field of culture in Ghana, because not only it's there again a transformative activity, you are putting together artists from Europe, artists from Ghana, artists from the neighboring region. So this is the fusion event, but you are supporting as well the structuration of creative industries. So this is huge. This is a huge potential where a country such as Ghana, which has a very diverse, very rich culture, you know, I look forward to the Homo festival will come soon, and it will be another festival season. This is something where there is a huge potential to tap.
Right, interesting. Well, I think this is where we draw the curtain on our conversation today. Did we leave anything out?
We have so much to
talk about.
We have so much to talk about.
1 hour is not enough for us to finish all the topics that we would like to discuss when it comes to the European Union. Also because every now and then there is something happening. So you are moving with time and the needs of the people. So I think that's why we have new initiatives and platforms introduced every now and then. So which is a good thing when it comes to relations between our two countries. Well, thank you so much for your time, Excellency. It is always a pleasure to spend some time with you. And,
thank you, Harriet.
We really, really appreciate your time. And of course, I'm excited about the vaccine production on the African continent with Ghana, Rwanda, Senegal, and of course, South Africa. This is as a result of the partnership between the European Union and Africa.
And the commitment of Ghana.
And the commitment of Ghana. The Ghana government is also doing so much.
These are things that cannot fly if there is no commitment on the other side of the table.
Yes.
I can do whatever I want,
absolutely.
although it will not fly.
Yes.
So this is why it is called a partnership. And you have attended the inaugural part of the partnership dialogue, and you have realized the depthness and the richness of the topics of cooperation. And it's not topic of discussions. These are topics where we are working together with almost all the ministries, the MDAs, as you call them, ministries and departments and authorities. Agencies. So yes, it's a huge partnership.
It's a huge partnership. You know, we have the Maiden Diplomatic Awards, Dub Diplomatic Honors coming up. What do you make of it? We've been here for the past 6 years, and we thought it was time we actually, you know, we crowned this whole thing.
We are very happy to work together with the Diplomatic Affairs and Media Communication Limited and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration.
Right. We appreciate your partnership as well. Thank you so much for also supporting this initiative. We really, really appreciate it. And of course, to all our partners out there, we are happy and we feel so blessed to have the UN in Ghana, ECOWAS, the AFTA, and of course, the various ministries supporting us on this endeavor. We are so grateful to you all. Excellency, thank you so much for your time. As always, it's a pleasure speaking to you on Diplomatic Affairs.
See you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Oh, okay, I don't know about that. So, well, maybe one of these days you should host the show for us. What do you make of it?
With pleasure.
All
With
right,
great
absolutely.
pleasure.
We have a new host for Diplomatic Affairs. I can take some days off. Well, thank you so much for watching. As always, I mean, there is no us without you. You are the reason we do what we do by bringing you what is happening in Ghana's diplomatic community, our engagements with the rest of the world, international relations, and of course, Ghana's foreign policy, everything around global affairs. This is your go-to place, the only window that makes it possible for you to catch up with events in this direction. My name is Harriet Nat, and of course, I look forward to seeing you same time next week. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye. Bye.